Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of GTM On-The-Go. Today I've got Sonia Moaiery.
The first conversation I like to have is usually not a conversation. I think the best ICP research that you can do starts out with a ton of listening, so really going deep on the market. So I'll usually find an industry analyst or a thought leader in the category and really try to understand what are the types of topics that they're talking about, who are the types of audiences they're going after in their content. I'll try to find probably 5 or 10 of our most successful customers, ones that are using your product most deeply, and do some initial listening to start. And then I'd say there's a series of parallel conversations from there, like talking to sales and customer success, talking to prospects, what is most relevant to get from each of those groups, because everyone has a different perspective that they bring to the table, how people who are not necessarily as familiar and aware of you, how they're thinking about you. And so I try to do 80-20 between prospects and customers. If it's a 30-minute conversation or a 45-minute conversation, I'll block my calendar for 45 minutes or an hour. I'll give myself 15 minutes after each conversation, write down what are my top 2 to 3 takeaways. I like having a core team of people who are really involved, and I can kind of share really quick hit, I just had this conversation and that conversation was conflicting from this one, and how do I reconcile those two things? So I can share more real-time insights and get some real-time perspectives on them. What is the number of conversations I need to have to determine that something is a theme? And so I would wait for those key milestones until I'm going to share all of my insights from all of the qualitative conversations I had with my executive team, setting your hypotheses and assumptions at the beginning of the project and saying this is what we believe to be true about our ICP. And, at the end of that key milestone, going back to those list of assumptions and saying, which of these do we actually feel like we validated? I think there's 2 different outputs of ICP research. Here's the research and the insights and the founding. So how did we get here? Who did we talk to? What are the implications for our business? And then there is a separate thing, which is here's who our ICP is. And I think sometimes those things get conflated. And so it's important to understand you're socializing your insights with the executive team so that their various functions can go off and go do something with that information. And then there's the ICP itself, who you need to train marketing and sales and make sure your executive team is aligned on that this is who we're saying our sweet spot is. In my mind, the ICP is the company level. And then there's the personas within a company. And so you may have a 1-pager for each persona, but I think for the ICP itself, laying out what size, industry, what are the titles of our buyer, champion, and end user. Buyer is the person who's signing the check. The champion is the person who's shepherding the deal through a company. And the end user is a person who's in and out of your software every day. And I think a simple 1-pager with those things goes a really long way. I think it's really easy to forget the post-sale teams who product marketing doesn't work with as frequently. Sales and customer success are the obvious ones that we don't forget, but it's really easy to forget our customer support and implementation teams. And it's such helpful context for them, I find. Anytime I share this type of research, it's just always really helpful context for those teams who don't always get to be included in a lot of that type of training. And then I would say your contractors, depending on the size of your company, we forget that these people are extensions of our team. And these are often designers and copywriters who are representing our tone, look, feel, and they really deeply need to understand who your ICP is. When I was at Glassdoor, we actually came up with company level ICP, and then we had actually 4 or 5 different persona segments and decided to focus on 2 of those 5, and they were based on how mature they were from an employer branding perspective. So we did a bunch of statistical analysis to be able to say here are 3 questions that we can actually ask. We can type someone into a segment, and if they answer these questions these ways, we would say, yes, they're a match for our target segment, or no, they're not a match. And we actually put that into our onboarding flow in our product. So we could actually say when someone was using our product, we could actually see whether they were a quote unquote ICP match or not. It was a really helpful signal to our customer success teams to say, hey, this is a customer that aligns with our ICP. They're really mature when it comes to employer branding. And so these are the types of products and features that are going to be most relevant to them.